Before I begin, I just want to say that this review is for my friend Phil, who is turning 78 today. A great man who I've known for about a decade. He's a man who loves getting high on gamer supplements, which gives him the ability to travel through time, though only to Applebee's. Now you might be wondering how this has anything to do with DMC. Well, it's because when I first heard of Phil, he promised to make a video reviewing DMC. A video he still hasn't made, but unlike me, he has a social life, so I can't hold it against him. Instead, as a birthday present, I've decided to make the review for him. 12 years later. DmC Devil May Cry is a reboot of the Devil May Cry series, developed by Ninja Theory and published by Capcom. A complete reimagining of the series, exchanging the style and craziness for a more gritty, edgy, and a comparatively more grounded approach. This left a pretty strong impression on the fans, as many believe that this was how Devil May Cry was going to be, until Devil May Cry 5, which takes quite a lot of inspiration from DMC, but does a lot better. As you might expect, reception from the audience was brutal, but it seems to have cooled down now. Especially now that the Netflix series came out, and not to preach to the choir, but it's not great. I mean, the action scenes were cool, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the writing choices were just not things I was too pleased with. But to get back on topic, I remember seeing the announcement trailer for DMC when I was either in my final year of primary or the beginning of high school, and I was honestly pretty interested in seeing how it would play out. I mean, I never touched it until now. But, to be honest, it's perfectly fine, for the most part. There is a definitive edition re-release for PS4 and Xbox One, which includes all the DLC and added some new features, bug fixes, and quality of life improvements, such as being able to lock onto enemies, which should have been in the original, by the way. Well, I probably could have also reviewed the definitive edition, since I do have a capture card now, but since I'm not really bothered booting up my PS4, and since I also recorded everything already, I'm just going to review the Steam release. Now, some of these improvements are available as mods for PC, but if you do want a more comprehensive idea of what it includes, I've linked the change list in the description. As a reboot, this game takes various elements from different Devil May Cry games, but for all intents and purposes, this is pretty much a retread of Devil May Cry 3, with some slight changes in themes for Western audiences. Dante, or I guess I'll just call him Dante to differentiate who I'm talking about, is a loner outcast who likes to get drunk and fuck women in his trailer on the pier of Coney Island. He is also a Nephilim, the spawn of an angel and a demon. After a night of partying and sex, Dante is visited by Kat, a Wiccan girl who tells him that he's been found by Mundus, the Demon King, who rules over the human world through economics and politics. Here, Dante is dragged into Limbo, another plane of existence where demons roam free. I guess this game is also trying to be Bayonetta as well. After defeating Mundus's demons and escaping Limbo, but not without destroying an entire boardwalk, Dante is invited by Kat to join the Order, an anarcho anti-establishment group on the surface, but are actually a group of guerrilla fighters against Mundus and his army. Leading the Order is Virgil, Dante's twin brother and fellow Nephilim, who is taking the fight to Mundus. Dante follows Virgil's plans, taking down Mundus's biggest contributors, Monster Energy and Fox News, though considering Dante and Virgil are voiced by an Aussie and a Kiwi, V Energy and Sky News. However, things begin to grow terse between the brothers as they clash over the values. Anyways, after killing Mundus and his demons, it turns out that Dante and Kat were pawns of Virgil's plans to rule the world. Why am I spoiling this? Well, because of the post-game DLC, Virgil's downfall. After losing to Dante, Virgil makes his way back to the family grave, where he soon finds himself in hell. Here he begins his aforementioned downfall, cutting off his human side to descend onto the path of power. From my first impressions, I would have thought Dante would have been a lot more angsty and brooding, but he's pretty toned down compared to my expectations. He's kind of a watered down mix of Nero and Dante. I mean, he's more of an asshole than those two, but he still makes jokes and banters with his enemies, and still has that softer emotional side. From what I remember, people weren't accepting of Dante because he wasn't Dante. But that's kind of the point. He's not the cool, confident demon hunter we all know and love. He's an outcast who, for the most part, is completely fucked up. I mean, he's completely fine, though the only time that I thought he fell flat was during his pre-fight banter with the succubus, which pretty much just devolved into fuck fuck fuckity fuck fuck fuck. Virgil isn't too different to his original counterpart. He's not as cold or stern and has a more kinder relationship with Dante, but by the end of his DLC, he starts to become a lot closer to the original Virgil. Overall, the story's alright, not great, but I'd say it's what some might call cringe Kino. The story tries to be really edgy, or at least what a kid or teenager thinks is edgy, which kind of makes it a bit cringy at times. But that cringe does circle around to being pretty enjoyable. The themes of capitalism and consumerism are somewhat ham-fisted, but it's not as bad as the way the Netflix series handled its message. Even so, there's a sense of sincerity with the game's story that I rather appreciate. Though the live abortion scene is pretty full on, if I have to be honest. The gameplay is a little slow and a bit clumsy at times, but functional for the most part. It's pretty different compared to the other Devil May Cry games before it. Bit similar to 4, DmC is pretty much prototype Devil May Cry 5, with 5 taking some gameplay inspirations from DmC, such as its training mode, the announcer callouts, the camera, and even some of its weapon and gameplay mechanics. DmC has a similar control scheme to previous games. You have a button that fires guns, 2 melee buttons, one for combos, and the other to perform special attacks, like launchers and helm breakers. However, a new mechanic added to this entry is the introduction of demon and angel arms. Demon arms are more powerful but slower, while angel arms are faster but weaker. To use demon and angel arms, you hold the right and left triggers respectively, then press the attack buttons. Swapping weapons were originally on the triggers for the mainline games, but for this entry, it's done by using the D-pad, left for angel, right for demon, and up for guns. It feels a little awkward to swap weapons this way, but considering that the triggers are preoccupied, unless you have a controller with extra buttons, it's probably the best that could be done. In this game, there are enemies that will be colored, requiring specific weapon types to defeat them. Red enemies require demon arms, while blue enemies require angel arms. If you attack an enemy without using the matching type, then your attacks will bounce right off. From what I've seen online, this design choice was not well received. I mean, myself included, since it makes fighting these enemies a bit of a chore, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. In the Definitive Edition, they changed that so enemies will just take less damage from different elements. This change is also available as a mod, because it doesn't matter what color you are, red or blue, blades and bullets don't discriminate. Gameplay wise, Dante seems to be a sort of combination between Dante and Nero, where both of their moves are implemented into Dante's weapons. Though I do feel like some of the melee weapons overlap in function. Arbiter and Eric's both act as heavy hitters, though Arbiter does have more knockback and Eric's can be charged up. Osiris is sort of similar to Rebellion, but has faster attack speeds, a wider range, and can be charged up with every attack. Aquila, the angelic shurikens, are probably the most unique weapon in this game, due to its crowd control properties, which Osiris also has, but to a more greater extent. You can still do combos in this game, but nothing too over the top. All weapons have the same combo buttons, so there isn't that much variety there. But you can chain into moves from other weapons with pause combos, which allows you to perform those moves quicker. Soft lock-on works as well as it can in this game, but since there are a lot of enemies to focus on, if multiple enemies are near each other, you might focus on the wrong one. As I mentioned earlier, in the Definitive Edition, there is manual lock-on, which would have been nice and probably could have been in this game anyways, especially considering that there are 2 evade buttons for some reason. The movement options in this game are nice additions though. Rebellion can turn into a grapple whip, acting as this game's Devil Bringer, and depending on whether the demon or angel version is selected, Dante can pull enemies towards him or pull himself towards enemies. Dante will also gain an aerial dash, which you can prolong by holding the angel trigger. There are 2 types of dodges, depending on which trigger is held. Demon dodge requires a last minute dodge, which if done right, will temporarily slow down the game and grants Dante more attack power. Angel dodge is sort of like a trickster teleport, where pressing the dodge button twice allows Dante to perform a short teleport. I do wish that there was a sprint though, since Dante will move at a leisurely stroll. Also, taunts would have been nice as well, since I don't know why they weren't included in this game in the first place. To unlock secret missions, you need to open locked doors, which require keys to open. However, there are 4 different key and door types: bronze, argent, gold, and ivory. So if you don't have the right key, then you'll need to replay the mission once you get them. In the Definitive Edition, they dropped this requirement, now only using gold keys and doors. Midway through the game, Dante will unlock Devil Trigger, which activates by pressing in both sticks. In Devil Trigger, the world will turn to high contrast, with Dante resembling Dante a bit more, and time will slow down, like Quicksilver style. In this mode, in addition to the damage boosts and health regen, enemies will also begin to float in the air if they're close when you activate it. It's not that big of a deal, but again, there is a mod that stops this. Now, before I move on, I'm gonna talk about Virgil's gameplay real quick. At first, he doesn't feel too different to Dante. He has his air tricks on the shoulder buttons, with the left going up while the right makes him trick down. He also has the summon swords that function similar to Dante's grapple, where holding the angel or devil trigger would cause Virgil to teleport towards enemies or pull them towards him. When you unlock angel and devil mode for the Yamato, his moveset widens to include more of the original's moves. With angel mode, Virgil will have his rapid slash and launcher, while also having an energy wave attack while airborne. With demon mode, Virgil will use the Yamato as a sort of combination of Beowulf and Force Edge. Instead of devil trigger, Virgil will gain doppelganger, creating a spectral copy of himself. Upgrading doppelganger will allow Virgil to change how it attacks with the D-pad, attacking with his regular style, or use angel or devil mode Yamato to attack. As a Western action game, this game plays pretty well, but as a Devil May Cry game, it is quite lacking here. Compared to Devil May Cry 4, while I do prefer the platforming in DMC, the combat in 4 is a lot more engaging, while it's a bit too simplified here. The boss fights were also rather lacking, as they felt repetitive in the way they're handled. They look cool, but they pretty much boil down to dodging their attacks, waiting to counter, then grappling towards them to attack before repeating. The environmental designs are probably the strongest thing going on for DmC. One thing I'm pretty sure most people are willing to accept. They have a grungy aesthetic compared to the more gothic designs of the main games, and are very striking. The visual effects and design of Limbo are really neat and pleasing to look at. The effects of Devil Trigger are also really cool to look at. Most of the weapon designs are appealing, with Aquila being my favorite, but Eric's the gauntlets look really silly. In terms of character designs, I'd say it's a lot more mixed. I don't mind Dante's base designs as much as others, though he is a little gremlin looking whenever he smiles or has his mouth open, but to be honest, the facial animations of this game look uncanny for the most part. Though I do think he looks better with the DLC costumes, especially Devil May Cry 3 and Devil May Cry 1 Dante. The latter being only available in the Definitive Edition or by modding. Virgil looks fine, though his fedora does look silly. Cat is cute, if not a little bland. Honestly, with the mentality of making characters look more grounded, most of them look pretty bland. The enemy designs as well, with most having that marionette puppet look. The boss designs are pretty interesting though, which is nice. Regarding Virgil's downfall, the way the story is told is pretty interesting. Instead of motion capture, cutscenes are told in a rough animatic style, which I'm pretty sure is due to the inability to get actors into mocap in such a short time, so they compromise with this. The designs remind me of a graphic novel, a rather messy and very punkish graphic novel. The music is done by Noisia and Combichrist, with the former doing the instrumental while the latter focused on vocals. And to be honest, it's not for everyone, but I did quite like it. I mean, if I had played this when it first came out, I probably wouldn't have been too receptive. Not that I would have found it bad, but just because I wasn't really into the heavy industrial scene at the time. Now though, I can get into it. Though that's mainly for the base game. With Virgil's downfall, it's just some orchestral tracks, which is rather disappointing. The voice acting is fine, again, going for the more grounded approach. So it may seem rather muted at times. Dante's actor does seem to strain his voice whenever he tries to sound angry, which can come off as more whiny. Overall, DmC Devil May Cry is a fine game. Not a great Devil May Cry game, not the worst obviously, but as an action game in general, it's pretty good. Some of the gameplay choices I'm not too big on, like the color-coded enemies, as well as having no lock-on, but nothing that really ruined the game for me. Plus the environmental design and music does carry this game hard. I'll be honest, looking back at the reception from the fanbase when the game first came out, I don't really know what got everyone so upset. I suppose the way some responded to criticisms might have stoked the flame. Plus, with the consensus that this was how DmC was going to be, and not just a spin-off, I guess I can also see why there would be pushback, since there were some pretty big threads that Devil May Cry 4 left. But with Devil May Cry 5 having finally come out, and taking inspiration from DmC, I think reception has gone a bit better, retrospectively. I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind if they continue this game, as highly unlikely as that sounds. Also, as an aside, I am of the mindset that if this game was called something else instead of Devil May Cry, I think reception would have been somewhat warmer at launch. Now, if you are tempted to pick this up, I have to say that this game is on the shorter side, with the main campaign taking 10 hours to complete, maybe 9 if you don't putz around like I did. And Virgil's campaign is even shorter, only taking a little over 2 hours to finish. So get it on sale if you can. If you have a PS4 or Xbox One lying around, you might want to get the definitive edition, since there are a lot of improvements made there. But if not, the Steam release should suffice. Thanks for watching everyone, and especially to those who managed to reach the end here. Before I finish up, I just want to give another shout out to my friend Phil, who is hopefully having his birthday when I put this video up. He's a great guy who streams pretty regularly and is also making his own videos. On Twitch he goes by Phil's Horror, and on YouTube he goes by The Accidental Hipster. He recently made a review for Silent Hill 2 Remake, which is honestly pretty good. The game, I don't know. So watch his videos and give him a follow. He deserves it. Anyways, now that I'm finished with this video, I don't know what my next one will be. I'll figure something out. In the meantime, like, comment, and sub if you want to. It's up to you, really.